Hi, I'm Hattie Volker from Find Your True Voice, and I work with performers and singers, enabling them to transform so they are truly fearless and confident in front of any audience, and they can let go of the self-doubt and self-criticism and really connect with their audience. Today, I want to talk to you about procrastination, because procrastination is the bane of so many performers' lives, and it was the bane of my life, both as a performer and as a lawyer, as a barrister. And I think many of us can look at it as it's just laziness, it's a character flaw, it's just who I am, it's how I do things. Maybe even you think it's how you work best. You work best on adrenaline, deadline surfing, as I like to call it. I think some of you already realise that there's a large part of it that actually is fear of failure, and we put things off because we worry about failing. What I want to talk to you about today is the three main reasons we procrastinate, because when you can understand the reason you procrastinate, sometimes it just helps it disappear and it helps you just get on with what you want to do. So the three main reasons are, number one, it's not actually on your list of things to do. Now, the reason I talk about this is I remember talking with a client once, and I was talking about something, tell me something that you feel you should do that you've been putting off. And she talked about tidying her bedroom. And I said, tell me the reason you should tidy your bedroom. And she said, well, my mum's always telling me to tidy my room. And I asked her, okay, well, where do you live? She says, I live in London. And where does your mum live? Oh, she lives in Yorkshire. And I said, is she visiting anytime soon? No. Do you feel you want to tidy your bedroom? No. And she looked at me and went, oh, I don't have to tidy my bedroom. No, you don't. So sometimes the thing we are putting off doing, we're putting off doing because actually it's not a priority for us. It's either a priority that is a current priority for someone else, or maybe it's a priority that you inherited from your parents, your mum, your dad, that it was really important to them, but actually it's not important to you. So one of the first things you can do when you're putting off something is to check in whether it's something you really think it's important you really want to do. For example, when I ask my kids to tidy their room, it's not on their list of things that are a priority. It's definitely on my list. I can help put it on their list by a little bit of bribery, maybe a bit of blackmail. If you don't do this, you won't get telly, etc. But they don't care mostly how tidy their bedrooms are. I do. And so it's on my list, but not their list. And that's the interesting thing. So check in. Is it something you do actually think is important for you to do? Is it on or high up your priority list? So that's the first reason. The second reason is a really interesting one for me, and I call it self-handicapping. And self-handicapping is where you're putting off preparing for something. And this is really applicable for performers, because so often practice and preparation is a really large part of nailing our performance. And whether that performance is singing on stage to an auditorium full of an audience, or it's a Facebook Live that we are thinking about doing and worrying about doing and putting off putting together the details for. Preparation is, as you know, vital for a decent performance. But often we put it off. What's the reason we put off preparing? Because surely we will be better the better we prepare. And I call this self-handicapping because it's like the students who stay up all night partying before an exam. If they go into the exam having been up all night partying and then they pass the exam, well, look at them. Kudos to them. Aren't they amazing? They can stay up all night and still do well. If they fail the exam, well, then that's because they stayed up late partying, not because they are what they secretly fear they are, fundamentally not good enough anyway. It's the same thing when a singer might stand up and go, oh, I've got a touch of laryngitis, or this song is new to me, or my singing teacher has asked me to do this, or I'm not sure where this sits in my range. They're standing up and going, this is the reason. If I sing badly, this is the reason I'm going to sing badly. It's not because I'm a bad singer, it's because of these other things. In the same way, if we don't prepare and we sing badly, then we've got a built-in excuse that is nothing to do with us not being good enough. But the truth is, if we do prepare, the chances are we will be better. You know, the more preparation we do, the better we're likely to be if we do good preparation. So although we're building in this excuse, it's also self-sabotage. And if you can recognize that, then it can change how you think about it. If you recognize that this isn't you being lazy or stupid or being a character flaw, this is actually you worrying about how well you're going to do and whether practice will make you good enough. Because if you really work and you're still not good enough, that feels terrible. But if you don't put the work in, you'll never find out how good you could be. And then the final reason is the good old-fashioned fear of failure. Isn't it easier to fail next week? Isn't it easier to put off applying for this competition or that audition or doing this Facebook Live or putting ourselves out there or trying this piece? Isn't it easier to put it off till next week? Because maybe things will have changed for you. Maybe the magic pixies will have come up and waved their magic wand and everything will have changed for you. All your ducks will be in a row. And it's so much easier to fail next week than this week. And it's that idea that we don't have control, that we just need to wait until things are in a better situation before we put ourselves out there. And then you can find yourself several months, several years down the line, not having done this, not having put yourself out there. So now I want you to think about what it would feel like if you didn't procrastinate. What would it feel like if you got on and did that preparation? If you got on and sorted out, really drilling down to what it is you want to sing, how you want to sing it, which bits you want to work on. If it's a speech, how are you going to prepare for that speech? What sort of thought are you going to put into the message you want to put in there to transfer to your audience? Same for a song. What thought are you going to put into what you want to communicate to your audience? How are you going to really prepare well for this so that you can feel awesome? And one of the biggest ways of tackling procrastination is to look for what you want to achieve. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about procrastination. And what I'd really like you to take away from this is that procrastination isn't a character flaw. It isn't you being lazy. And it isn't just something you do because this is how you work and that's just your personality. Procrastination, there is always a fundamental reason going on underneath. Either it is just not on your list of things you want to do, not on your priority list. And that doesn't mean because it's on somebody else's priority list, you can't make it your priority, because actually once you recognize that you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for somebody else. Pleasing them might be on your priority list, and that's okay. Number 2 is, are you self-handicapping / self-sabotaging? Are you putting off preparation for fear that even if you do prepare, you won't be good enough? Because if you can recognize that, then you can come to that realization that preparation is likely to make you better. And number 3, are you just putting off because you fear you're going to fail? And if you are, what can you do to help mitigate against that failure? What can you do? What preparation can you put in? What can you do that will make you feel more confident? Thank you very much for listening. I hope that helps. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe. And if you like the video, like the video. If you haven't yet subscribed to my mailing list, then click the link to subscribe to my mailing list. I'm Hattie Volker from Find Your True Voice. Thank you so much for listening.